Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Welcome, everybody, to USA Global TV and Radio, and welcome back to this particular Talking Heads show. My name is Jenetta Barry, and our show today, under the Talking Heads umbrella, is about thoughts and emotions. I'm an expert presenter on really what I call the yin and yang of science, and some of you who've been watching previous episodes will know that in our first episode, and please do go back and have a look at them because they're well worth a catch up. There's no one episode that needs to be watched before the other, but they all intertwine and interact with each other. And in the first week, we talked about the yin and yang of science. We talked then in the following week about the imperfection in the perfection and the perfection in the imperfection, and that the two are one, and there's really not any separation. And then we went on last week into talking about dichotomies and fears, seeing that bigger picture within life's unbelievably at times big contradictions. So today it is really a no-brainer to carry on from what we've covered before, because a lot of people think that thoughts and emotions are two separate things within us, and that you're either one or you're the other. But what if you're both? And what if you start working on making both be present and in a place of balance and appreciation in your life, so that they're not pulling at each other or contradicting each other, back to those dichotomies I talked about last week. So I thought I'd start this week with a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. And he always said, the ultimate measure of a man or a woman or a person is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the fact that our thoughts can become extremely overwhelming. When we're in our male logic and we start logicalizing everything, sometimes it can get too much. When we're in our female emotions and we start feeling only the emotion side and we cut off the logic, then we start feeling out of balance that way. So we're going to address today the mental and emotional fantasies and nightmares which influence the physical aspects of our lives, because that's the other thing. We're told this is our physical body, and if we go and do exercise, it'll help our mental side or how we're feeling. Meanwhile, the three interact with each other all the time. When you're mentally in a place of manageability and managing your thinking processes from a place of open-hearted appreciation, and when you're doing the same with how you're feeling, your emotions, and they're in open-hearted appreciation, and then you appreciate your body as well by doing what it needs to have done to it to make it feel in balance. The three start synergizing with each other. So we're going to talk about the mental and emotional fantasies and nightmares that we all run. It's not like, oh, other people do it and I don't. I can tell you now, I am one of the greatest ones, especially in my early days, when I started researching and studying all of this. I was in this place of, I wanted my life to be in one way, and no nightmares at all, no challenges, nothing, everything had to be fantastically right and perfect. So first of all, I thought I would talk about addictions, that which we're attracted to. So a lot of people, they hear the word addiction and they go, oh, that means people who are addicts. I'm not an addict. But actually, if you take the charge out of the word addiction, it's really that which we are attracted to. And addictions occur when we perceive that somewhere or someone else outside of ourselves reflects having more of what we admire than we have, or than we perceive we have, or that we perceive we are experiencing. So when we perceive that something or some situation outside of ourselves has more of something we admire than we have, we start seeking more of this. And that addiction becomes something that we focus on. Now, essentially, there's nothing wrong with that, because all great plans that have come into place come from seeking something that we do not have. Absolutely everything around us has been manifested from a place of absence. Think about it. The walls of your house, the clothes we're wearing, the food, it's from the absence that we bring in what is required and we seek it. So actually, there's nothing wrong with addictions. It's when they go into the extreme that they no longer serve us. When one can take, when I was able to take away that feeling that addiction was a wrong word or a wrong action or a wrong feeling or a wrong thought, when I was able to soften on addiction and understand that its pure essence meaning is that we are attracted to something that we perceive is that we admire and want, and we seek because we perceive there's more of it outside of ourselves. The other side is repulsions. And repulsions also, there's nothing wrong with going repulsions, because this is where in balance we become discerning. We become very empowered and clear and centered and focused as to what it is we actually do and don't want in our lives. So there's nothing wrong with being repulsed about something or someone, nothing at all. And of course, repulsions is that which we are repulsed from. And they occur when we perceive that somewhere or someone else outside ourselves despise or dislike than we perceive we display or we are experiencing. So again, we seek less of this. We don't want that. So we pull away from that. And when we become addicted to fantasies, so we'll go back to addiction, these fantasies give us the illusion. So for those of you who were with me in our very first session, in session 1, I talked about being in a place of balance, balancing either side of the line of balance of your thoughts and emotions, and that one side was a positive charge and the other side was a negative, like a battery or electricity, and it's oscillating on other side. When you try and concentrate and focus only on one side, so if you're fantasizing and saying, okay, I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to meet this person and I'm going to have these friends and I'm going to have this lifestyle, and absolutely everything I've ever fantasized is going to be into place. What happens is that we've now gone to one side of that line of balance and not factored in the other side, which is just as necessary as well. And these fantasies give us the illusion of a one-sided pleasure. We become repulsed from nightmares, and these nightmares give us the illusion of one-sided pain. So we're either here or we're here. It's kind of like black and white thinking. And if we're here, this we don't want to exist. And when we're here, we don't want to be here. We want to be there. So That's the illusion of one-sided pain and one-sided pleasure. So one could ask the question, why do we need to experience addictions and repulsions? I mean, why can't we just always find balance and just maintain it? And I liken this to, how does a toddler learn to balance on two legs? Think about it. From the moment they start getting more mobile, they are really aiming to get up on their two pins and standing up and walking. So they have to learn to balance on those two legs before they can walk. So guess what it is that they have to do regularly to make sure that they learn to balance? They have to do the opposite. They have to fall down. So the balanced fantasy, it's not a fantasy, the balanced focus for a toddler is to get up and stand on two legs. The toddler doesn't sit there going, I've got to get up on two legs, and when I get up there, I'm going to instantly balance and everything's going to be absolutely amazing. Everybody's going to go, wow, you clever person. And then I'm just going to sail off into the sunset and be able to walk really easily. A toddler doesn't factor that type of conversation. In fact, probably no conversation, but there is reasoning within them, which is when they fall down, you don't see a toddler land on its backside and go, oh my God, I failed. They don't, because they realize the balance of not being in the fantasy of only wanting to stand up and get it right the first time and wander off into the sunset. They're not there. They are naturally in that place of going, I need to fall down, instead of going into the nightmare of, I'm a failure. I'm such a mess up. I didn't manage it the first time. I didn't manage it the second time. I didn't manage it the 100th time. So what's the point? So there's the pain that we as adults go into. So falling down actually has so much value. The failure has so much value to that child. They gain experience and skills and techniques that would be missing if they were able to just stand up and walk. By way of example, muscle development, spatial development, discernment. Okay, I've fallen down. So what is it that I need to tweak to stand up and make it work? Reason, the ability, reasonableness, absolute reasonableness, and the value of not living our lives all perfectly right or attempting to eliminate all that is wrong is about taking our addictions and our repulsions and bringing them into open-hearted understanding and acceptance. The key is to know how to consistently apply the skills and techniques to powerfully manage both, so that extreme addictions and extreme repulsions are no longer controlling us, where both sides are brought into centered manageability. So, what creates filled with either more of what we enjoy and admire, what's valuable, or that we are surrounded with more of what we perceive we don't have, which is a void. A void. That's where the word avoid, we avoid. So addictions come in many forms, and I'm going to put it into different sections today to help you. We're going to do mental and emotional first. So let's go into mental and emotional, obsessive mental and emotional thoughts and feelings. So that could be obsessive emotional mental thoughts about yourself, self-obsession, or attention seeking from other people. It could be another person or people that you are obsessive about, or one circumstances or many sets of circumstances where you're feeling obsessed and mentally emotional with your thoughts and feelings about them. On a physical level, it can be your body, it can be drugs, sex, food, alcohol. the physical world around us, one or many circumstances that we're obsessed mentally and emotionally with our thoughts and feelings about. And then repulsions come in many, many forms. There's the judgment of self or others, where we go, I've got it better, I do it better, I am better than others, or we judge ourselves, going, we're not better, we're not good enough. So that's an interesting, because actually that's two parts of a whole. Where we judge ourselves means we're seeing where somebody else has got it better. When we judge others, we're seeing that we've got it or doing it better than others. And the two are actually one when we learn how to balance it out. Another repulsion is the avoidance of thinking or feeling about a person or a group of people. I'm not going to think about it. No, they're not in my life. I'm avoiding it. It's a void. And a void means something that's not filled. So that's what a void means. Or it's avoidance of thinking or feeling about a circumstance or a set of circumstances. And physically on the repulsion side would be avoidance of seeking and or interacting with certain people or groups of people, or avoidance of seeking and or interacting in a circumstance or a set of circumstances. And of course, all three, mental, emotional, physical, as I mentioned earlier, are really all interconnected. And the human mind can attach a fantasy, nightmare, whichever, to just about any perception. Our addictions and repulsions ultimately, and this really blows my mind away, ultimately they're attached to where we believe we can gain relief through experiencing more pleasure than pain, or where we can experience more pain than pleasure. And they're temporary illusions. It's just the most liberating thing when you can realize that these are temporary perceptions. It's one-sided reality we're hooking into to making the truth, making it out as though this is really where it is, or this is really where it is. Whereas the greater the addictions and the repulsions, the more they will control our thoughts, feelings, and our actions. So the more we pull away from being balanced in our thoughts and emotions, the more our thoughts, feelings, and actions, those emotions, start controlling us, and we feel out of control. And the more you can go back into center again by balancing the voids and bringing it into center, the more we feel that we are in manageability of our thoughts and our emotions. So balancing voids requires us to find where we already have what we perceive as missing. And we're going, no, I don't have this. They have it. It has it. It's there. I don't. Then we're not seeing it either in the same form to the same degree, or in a different form to the same degree. And when we can acknowledge and honor where we already are displaying in different ways and forms that which we perceive we don't have, then we begin to realize where we have always experienced everything we believed to be missing. And it is so liberating. The day I got this was my epiphany moment all those years ago. And it's in the same token, when we can acknowledge what we highly value in ourselves is already present throughout the universe in different forms, within ourselves and around ourselves and without, when we realize that there is no separation, then balance of mind and emotion takes place. So in truth, everything we perceive as missing, incomplete from our lives, or missing, incomplete in someone else's life or lives, or missing, incomplete in any particular circumstance or sets of circumstance, is actually already present. That's what omnipresence really is about. When people talk about omniscience and omnipresence, it's always there. It's just what we choose to focus on. And I liken this to bats. I remember I was camping with my children one day, and we were sitting in the dusk having a barbecue, and outside our tents and in the middle of their African bush, and these bats were flying around, and I was going, they're seeing things I can't see, and I'm seeing things they can't see, because they're seeing in a different form. Think about that. They're still seeing, they're just seeing differently. And that's where changing our perceptions of one-sided focus as being the truth and being able to see differently. We talk a lot on this put my teeth in on this channel about listening differently. Today is about seeing differently. Because when we change the way we focus on things and include other things that we've eliminated or avoided, you get that bigger picture. It's so liberating. And you know, to quote Sigmund Freud, the thing that I want to finish off with today is about unexpressed emotions, because unexpressed emotions will never die. We think that if we don't express how we're feeling, we're in control. Meanwhile, all we've done is suppress them, and they've been buried alive. And what Sigmund Freud says is unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. Now, this sounds quite sinister, but actually those ways come out, and then you start seeing how, as much as they may appear ugly, they have loved this process so much. So understanding how our thoughts affect our lives has become the most popular way of looking at life over the last 70 years. But there's a missing. Everybody goes on about, we've got to be positive, got to keep ourselves positive, eliminate negative. I've addressed this in other sessions where the missing part is that our thoughts and emotions are not separate. We think, oh, this is how I think, this is how I feel. Feels like there's often a conflict, that how we think and how we feel do not agree, but they're inextricably interconnected, actually. And this has resulted in our emotions becoming marginalized in the belief that we only need to think right to achieve a perfect life. Burying our feelings creates an extreme bipolar scenario, because we're all bipolar. We're all trying to being positive, negative, positive, negative. That's the balance of life. It's when it goes into extreme, where extremely positive, 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 then negative, negative, negative comes in. The extreme bipolar is what trips us up and makes us feel extremely emotional a lot of the time, or extremely dead as we only stay in our brain. We can go either way. When we bring our thoughts and emotions into manageability by appreciating and powerfully embracing both our thoughts and emotions, then we can operate from a place of centered actualities. And in actual fact, what I'd love to address as we finish off today is that our bodies are messengers. They let us know when our emotion imbalance, our dis-ease, is situated in our bodies by displaying signs in that part of our bodies where we've buried our dis-ease and our disabled emotions have been stored. And in our judgment of dis-ease, the belief that it requires to be eliminated and serves no purpose, it's never have disease, it's bad, a war is created to fight disease into oblivion. By way of example, phrases like fighting cancer are regularly used. And it's wise to search and secure the root cause of the disease rather than just fighting the symptoms. Because I found time and time again, the moment I am experience something that's happening in my body, the moment I identify what the feeling is behind whatever I'm feeling disease-wise, the disease disappears. By honoring and listening to our body's messenger systems, we can then release judgment of our diseases and appreciate how they are equally serving us, and we can then become whole. And to end off on this note, and I feel so passionate about this because it's proved time and time again with clients and even myself, because as some of you might know, I've really walked the walk and talked the talk on this process. So have you ever noticed a friend or friend who is or who are always accident prone? Have you noticed that? I've got them there. They're always tripping over, or they're always dropping something, or something's always happening by accident. And have you also noticed the days where you're more accident prone than on other days? And we had them. We have those days where we go, okay, I got out of the wrong side of bed today. And have you noticed how you get your thoughts and feelings into order and feeling more centered, that it makes you less open to hurting yourself? Because often accident prone is because we're not concentrating and being focused and centered and clear. That's the centered presence that many spiritual people talk about. When you're not focused and you're distracted, because extreme thoughts and emotions blocks, blinds, and distorts. When you can bring your focus in because you've got your thoughts and emotions managed, you're less open to hurting yourself because you're very focused. You're seeing where you're going. You're seeing what's happening over there. You're sensing what's going on behind you and around you. You're right there, present. That's the mindfulness that people talk about. But imagine being mindful and emotional in a place of balance. And to end off, I'm going to give you some food for thought, because in another session in months to come, I'd love to talk about this and weight. But that's for another session. But for now, to end off today's session, I'm going to talk about that which we fear most. We all know that which we fear most happens to us or attracts to us. So if you're scared of catching something from others, a disease or something like that, or maybe you're scared the sun is harming you, or scared of something that might happen or might not happen, that which you fear most is about being able to just, how can I put this? That which you fear most is about seeing only one side of what I was talking about. You're only focusing on the one side. Being able to understand how, by way of example, how valuable the sun is and how important it is to you, and how your whole body needs quite a lot of sun, or I don't know about needs, but it really does appreciate a whole load of sun, then and blessing it and thanking it, a balance starts happening in your body as to how much sun your body requires or doesn't require. In fact, in a lot of countries now, they're saying too many people are putting too many things on their skin and covering up too much. I also read the other day, blue eyes are very susceptible to sun. And yet I've got blue eyes. I don't wear sunglasses. And I found out not so long ago that my eyes need sun and that vitamin E as well. And I find my eyes have now adapted, and this is for another time as well. They've improved. I used to have very thick contact lenses and glasses, and I don't have them anymore, and I don't need reading glasses. And it's all about balancing out thoughts and emotions. To just end off, I helped victims of a terrorist attack some time ago. And it was so interesting because all those victims were scared to death about being shot at or blown up. And they were part of an attack that had shootings and grenades. And as I was going through helping all these people over the weeks that followed that terrorist attack, I began to speak and meet up with people who had always gone to that shopping center. It had happened in a shopping center, always gone to that shopping center. And then I sat them down and said, Why didn't you go? Or we always go, but I just woke up tired and decided not to go. Or we decided to go somewhere else and we never do that. And my next question was, is your greatest fear being shot at or blown up? And they go, no, it doesn't really bother me. I wouldn't like it, but it's not a fear. It's just a caution. And so it was so interesting that the people I was dealing with that day, that was their greatest fear. There was one person, their greatest fantasy was that life was boring and they wished something really dramatic and exciting would happen in their lives. And this is what happened. So the interesting thing is this, to not put fear into you, but to understand when you address your thoughts and emotions and understand that forever anything that you're focusing in that only has downside to, start listing where there is benefit to it. Or if you're concentrating on there's only an upside to it, start seeing where there is a downside. And when you do that, the two come together and there's your yin and yang happening in a place of centered, open-hearted, loving, spontaneous loving manageability. And it's something that I practice every single day of my life. So I want to thank you for your attention and interest today, and to say, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV. And you can find all our Talking Head episodes under the playlist titled Talking Heads 2022, because there are so many great subjects under Talking Heads. And please do reach out to me if I may be of service. You can contact me at theepiphanyprocess.com, or you can email me at Jenetta@theepiphanyprocess.com. And in the meantime, see you next week. Lots of love. Bye.